I got another chance to play a ton of cool games at PAX West this year. Here are some of my quick thoughts and, more importantly, an interview with someone working on each game. Memoria Wake is an action-adventure game that we can all relate to, navigating the complex world of growing up. This game is an isometric Souls-like game, and I love the idea of the different areas and enemy changing as the player navigates a dream world that covers their whole life. The game looked great and was fun to play. Let's learn more.
I'm Cole Savitz-Vogel, and I'm the creative director at Team Crescendo.
Just tell me about what I'm about to dive into here with Memoria Wake.
Sure. So Memoria Wake is a Souls-like inspired, action-adventure inspired isometric game. The protagonist is navigating through a dream world, basically waking up in a dream, where the environment and all the entities are based off of memories and past experiences, but distorted and augmented like a dream is, where in the first level, for example, as you're going to be playing through in the demo, the enemies and the environment are based off of early childhood experiences, so anything that he was afraid of might take place as an enemy, even though that could just be something as small as like a lanternfly, a frog, or a toy monkey, or a jack-in-the-box. But they have taken on very whimsical and friendly, but still nightmarish forms. But then the future levels, like the following 3 levels, our entire game is 4 levels, take place at different points in his life. For example, the second level, just as a sneak peek, is weeks before he wakes up in this dream, where he's dropping out of college, and he's in his university, which is now very dilapidated and ruinous and full of very on-edge students that he does not collaborate well with. So every level is a very different adventure throughout his childhood and early adulthood, but they all are coherent in that it's a dream world that he's recollecting, and that's how you learn about our character.
So basically anybody kind of can relate. This sounds like a game that a lot of people can probably relate to some similar feelings.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Our team is about 10 people, and I would say all of us put our experiences into this protagonist. So even though I consider myself very extroverted and this protagonist is very much introverted, I definitely still see a lot of myself within him. I think especially because a lot of us are college age, it's kind of fresh in our minds, especially for our college level, how we interpret and see things, and then how we're displaying that within our character.
Since you said you're kind of like college level, maybe a little bit younger, can you just tell me a little bit about getting into game development? It seems it's kind of a crazy time to be making games. There's a lot of great stuff. There's a lot of scary stuff. Can you kind of tell me just a little bit about that and taking this risk and making this game?
Yeah. So me personally, I always loved games. I had never envisioned myself making games, but when we started making this game, my friend, who is very, very passionate about making games, said he wanted a musical artist, and I happened to be at college for music, so I onboarded. But in the game process and running meetings, I learned that I really just enjoy all the creative sides of storytelling, be that writing, art, music. So I took creative director to help all of those roles communicate with each other and to be able to give a lot of my input and tell a story that isn't just being written down in a book. And I love the multimedia and collaborative nature of video games, and it is very nerve-wracking because it's difficult to make such like a complex medium. There's so much to it, but it just feels so rewarding to see that outcome, to see even just this demo come into fruition. It makes it all worth it.
Do you think that would you say that games are kind of like the best way to express yourself through art? Or I mean, we have a lot of things, but like you just mentioned, there's a lot that goes into making games.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't have a definitive ranking. I also think that games itself is very subjective. I think that almost anything can be a game. Like in my own personal experience, I've turned ensemble pieces into games because games are a lot of fun, and even if we don't interpret everything as a game, we're always playing and consuming art in our own individual way. And I'm hoping that when people play Memoria Wake, they're kind of playing in their own personal way. That's something I really love about this game, is that the combat is so expansive. There are so many tools that you pick up throughout the game. There's so many dream states that you get to obtain throughout the game. You can kind of play however you want to and digest it however you want to. And though there will be some similar gameplays, you get to play it, I'm sounding repetitive now, how you want to. We're not forcing you to do every single game mechanic. We'll definitely push it on you for certain sections because we want you to learn all of them, but we want you to feel like you are playing this game. You're not that you're having the character play the game for you.
How do you create that freedom for the player? Is there something in the design process or just something that you guys talk about to create that? How do you give players that choice?
So mechanically, when we were making the game, we realized that our enemies are incredibly overtuned. So we want to figure out a way for players to have multiple approaches so that they can take down the enemy how they want to take it down, and they don't have to do something super specific to be able to beat it. So in doing that, we kind of have two main ways of playing, of adding on to combat. So on top of the base mechanics of dodging, parrying, attacking, and blocking, we have offhand items. So the first one that you'll obtain in this demo is the water gun, which is a ranged item, and that requires a lucidity currency that you're constantly getting through combat to use, and it's a bit required for certain puzzles and for certain enemies in certain places that you can't reach just using your sword, your umbrella. But then we also have dream states, which are almost entirely optional. They're ways that just completely change. They cost a lot of lucidity to use, and they're very temporary, and there's a time gate to them, but we're never making them completely required, and nor are we making combats significantly easier to beat if you are using that one particular dream state all the time. We want to make it so that people can enter dream states when they want to and approach that kind of combat when they want to, and mesh different types of dream states with different types of offhand, even when it's not required to use that offhand equipment. And then also use all of that on top of the base combat mechanics.
If you're kind of new to the genre, is this going to be one where you might struggle a little bit, or is this going to be something that'll be, with all these tools available, you can kind of figure it out and play your style?
That's something that we're currently figuring out in our current game development process. Originally, we weren't going to make difficulty levels, but as time continues, we're thinking difficulty levels actually probably could work out. We're not sure how those difficulty levels are going to be implemented. We're experimenting with a ton of different ways. But for example, our lead director, Hank, he's really good at beating the bosses. I mean, he's coded them, so it makes sense. But he's really, really good at taking them down. I die almost immediately. It would take me about 5 or 6 more tries, or 5 or 6 times more tries than it does for him to do anything in the game. And that's also just because we're very different types of gamers. I am not the biggest PC gamer, and I also don't really play isometric games the way that he does. So we're definitely trying to figure out through a lot of playtesting, both on the team and especially off the team, how we can better implement difficulty so it doesn't feel like you're just going to be bad at the game or good at the game. We want to always make it seem difficult for the player, but then have reasonable goalposts so that if people want to up the difficulty, they can.
How does it feel to be here at PAX? Before we sat down, you just said you had your first big line. It's Friday. The weekend's just getting started. How's it feel to be here?
It's a lot. It's really overwhelming, but I'm super excited. I feel like I've learned so much here just in the 2 days of being here about my own game that I had no clue in the past 2 years of working on it even existed. Getting to talk to everyone that comes by and getting to both hear not just their feedback but their own personal experience with games in general is just so helpful, both as a game developer and a player. I really, really like hearing everyone's different experiences with games and how they chose to enjoy just playing through this demo for 10 to 20 to 30 minutes. People are interpreting it so differently, and I had no clue that people were going to enjoy the game in the way that they do. It's awesome.
That's part of the excitement, I'm sure. Anything else that we didn't get to that you want to mention, or anything like release date or anything else that you can let the people know about?
Well, release date, we unfortunately can't give that to you yet. But I do just want to say, if you like the intangibility and distortion and nonsense of dreams, then I think this probably is the game for you. It's not silly, but it definitely is nonsensical and whimsical and idyllic, and it's not high art, but it definitely at times feels incredibly difficult to navigate, kind of like watching a high art exhibition. So that's my last selling point.
I love